Governor Cuomo nominated for re-election on News 4 at 6.
I am pleased to greet you from our nation's capital. We come here, as Bob Hope might say, periodically to get close to our money. Bob Hope might ask at this hour of our nation's life, what money? We dare you to watch this program. All we've got right now is the worst financial scandal in the history of our beloved democratic experiment called the United States of America. I speak of the S&L, Savings and Loan Scandal. With us are Pete Brewton, who's a reporter for the Houston Post. He will say, among other things, that organized crime and the CIA is in this, are in this. Stephen Pizzo joins us. He's author of a book titled Inside Job, Looting of America's Savings and Loans. He's a West Coast correspondent for the National Thrift News. And finally, we're pleased to feature Bill Greider, who is national editor for Rolling Stone magazine, who says, among other things, that the S&L scandal is a clear indication of how our democracy has failed. You and I are in this. Just to set it up here, as you know, in the very early 80s, the Reagan administration deregulated the S&Ls. A whole bunch of people, without us knowing it, went out and using federally insured money, loaned billions of it to a lot of people who invested it in oil and gas and a lot of real estate, a lot of condos, and the whole market in all of these areas collapsed. So they rolled the dice on a bet that didn't come in. And it didn't matter to them because the government insured the loans that they made on condos that now rot in many places in this country, most especially noticeable in the Southwest. Are you trying to get a job in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area today? And now we're estimating $500 billion to fix this. That's in excess of $3,000 for every person in America over the next several years. Do you have that money? That's what it's going to cost you. Your government doesn't have it. They're going to have to borrow it. They already have, and the interest is accumulating by millions of dollars every day. Just the interest, we're not even going to be able to do anything about the principal, and to fix this in a hurry is going to cause a recession that's going to make the one that we appear to be on the edge of today look like a minor inconvenience. And while we're at it, we are up to our keister, not only in condos, but in automobiles and other material goods. Our nation appears to be falling apart. Who wants to start this? Stephen, let me give it to you first. How did this happen to us? Give us your...
Well, the savings and loan industry was experiencing some discomfort at the end of the 70s because money market funds started to compete with them. They were unregulated, and they were able to pay depositors any amount of interest to attract their deposits. So a process began where people normally began to move their money from the savings and loans, which were regulated, could only pay a set interest rate, to the unregulated money market funds. Now, the money market funds were not insured by anybody, I might just add. They were just unregulated. So Congress came in 1980 and said, look, we have to stop this disintermediation, as they call it, so we're going to deregulate interest rates. That was a good idea. Then they had a problem. Savings loans started to pay a lot to get deposits, but they were stuck making these 30-year fixed-rate 6% home loans.
The old kind, the way it used to be.
The old ones, the good old-fashioned home loans that your payment never changed. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Anyway, they were paying 8% to get the money. They were collecting 6% in interest. They were losing their shirts. So Congress was put under pressure to deregulate the loan end of it and allow them to issue adjustable rate mortgages so they could float with the market. Right. Good idea, much needed. But a bunch of people within the thrift industry, who were very strong in their lobby group, the U.S. League, decided they were sick and tired of being socially responsible George Baileys and making socially responsible home loans. They wanted to get in there and boogie with Donald Trump. So they loaded this great piece of legislation full of a bunch of unnecessary powers. The right to invest in all kinds of things, not just home loans, and not only to make loans on things like shopping centers, but to actually build them themselves, become the developer, to buy a construction company, and then loan money from this institution to their own construction.
So the owner of the savings and loan, the president of the savings and loan, who used to be a nice guy with gray hair,
and just wanted to build houses for folks.
Yes, he did, and he had a little pencil sharpener. the owners of the savings and loan companies were also builders.
And what you didn't know out there across America is that you were a co-signer on every one of those deals through deposit insurance. They got to take the risks on the upside, and you got to pick up the losses on the downside. That's what's happening.
Not only that, you made money just doing the deal. It didn't matter what happened to the deal.
Every time a savings loan booked a loan, anybody's taking out a home loan knows you pay certain fees, points and interest and whatnot up front. That's income. So if you make a $1 million loan, you can book $50,000, $100,000 worth of profit for the bank that day. You do enough of those in a year, then the bank president gets to pay himself a big bonus, no matter whether those loans were on rotten deals or good deals, real deals or phony deals.
But let's understand the emotional, the mindset here. The loans were made. Let's give them the total benefit of the doubt, and it may be difficult for you all to do this, but when they built the shopping centers, they thought happy days were here again. They thought they were going to go through the roof.
And in fact, there were many crooks, hustlers, swindlers, all of the other players. But in fact, there were also a lot of honest, both bankers and developers, who got wiped out by the economic conditions which the federal government was imposing in the 1980s. Most spectacularly, the high interest rates and the collapse of oil.
In his book, Inside Job, Stephen Pizzo certainly knows how to draw a crowd. His opening chapter talks about an S&L hoodlum. He's now in the S&L business. We let him be that. And incidentally, the number of people looking over the shoulder of the guy with the pencils who making money has diminished because, as you know, Reagan, deregulation, let the marketplace work. This guy had his own plane, flew his pals to Las Vegas, brought in a lot of women into the room. They all took their clothes off and performed sex acts in the room. And this was the new wealth. This is just one of the horror stories. Now, I don't want to get Pete in here, but
that was a board meeting, by the way.
it was a board meeting. Listen, let's understand, and the president's son was on the board of Silverado, now defunct. Cost of the bailout in excess of $1 billion. And later in this program, you will see Joseph Kennedy Jr. colliding with the third son of the President of the United States at a recent hearing by the House Banking Committee. One more point. The press missed this story. And why doesn't Congress move more aggressively? Because nobody gives more money to the people in Congress than does the financial wizards, so-called, who preside over the savings and loan and the banking industry. We have 5 members of the United States Senate who are now squirming.
This is gonna ruin everything.